Welcome to the Rise Inside podcast, hosted by Justin Starbird and powered by RISE Robotics. Listen as host Justin talks to experts from the RISE team about topics relating to mechanical engineering, industrial design, commercialization, and innovation. True collaborations work when ideas are integrated at inception to solve significant problems. RISE Inside brings together how the team continues to work with great folks to commercialize ideas. You're listening to the Rise Inside podcast. Here's your host, Justin Starbird.
Welcome back to the Rise Inside podcast. My name is Justin Starbird, and today we get to continue the InsideRISE series to learn more about the team that is making this mission go. So it's exciting. I get to welcome Jamison Go, senior mechanical engineer, to the show today. Jamison, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. And by the way, nice pun.
Yeah. I'm here all week, so exciting to have you on. You're one of the newest members of the RISE team. You only joined in the last month or so. What has the first 30 days been like?
Oh, it's been pretty awesome, actually. First of all, getting to interact with all the different pieces of technology, it's an impressive innovation, I think. And getting to learn the ins and outs, you get a real appreciation for how different things are done. In particular, I'm really shocked at the complexity of some of that belt pathing, and just learning new techniques it just makes me so happy to go and learn new skills. I feel like you're never done learning. And even at, my stage in my career, which I think is relatively young still, but just being able to come away with a new tool or a new tip just feels, you're making progress every single stage. You're always learning. Fast.
Well, it is interesting. RISE is, we still definitely consider ourselves a startup, but, been here for a while. Been really fortunate to have some wonderful people come through the doors, be a part of the team, and share their expertise. The expectation is you're no different, and happy to have you here. What was life like before RISE? What were you working on?
Before RISE, I was actually in the additive manufacturing space. So just generally speaking, I'm pretty passionate about anything as it relates to making things work. I spent a lot of time in student maker spaces. I've helped start 2 of them now at Georgia Tech and at MIT. Yep. And so when I was kind of looking at what I wanted to do post-graduation, the opportunities for additive manufacturing, basically machines which make things, they make parts, was fascinating to me. New technologies as well. So I did my research at MIT in high throughput extrusion-based additive manufacturing and certain fill materials within. And then after that, I worked at another startup for metal additive manufacturing and various related technologies. Worked there for a few years, and I like to think I made a pretty big splash with the technologies that we had. And then, but returning back to, some of my other favorite things, the origin of it all was robotics. So when this opportunity came around to exercise mechanical design and to do robotics at the same time, it's kind of like coming back to home. I still get to play with like manufactured parts, beautiful designs, things like that. And now I'm going back to the robotic aspect of it, and then working with all the folks here, it certainly feels like home.
Had you heard of RISE, prior to joining the team?
A little bit, actually. RISE, the co-founders, a large number of them came from MIT, and they've been around, like you said, for a while, even though they're still a startup. I've kind of heard the whispers around here and there, and actually, we ended up knowing a lot of the same people at MIT just through conversations. It's like, oh, hey, you know that guy? I know that guy too. That's great. Like, at some point in time, we actually probably crossed paths and we didn't even realize it.
Yeah. What about the mission of RISE, brought you, to where you are today? What stood out? What made you think, hey, I want to be a part of that team?
I think RISE has a wonderful vision for what that future is going to be. And my whole thing about the mission and really anything in general is, what are you doing with your time? I feel that I personally want to leave a legacy for the next, for the next forever, for the next decade, centuries, whatever, working towards that future. Uh, that's what I think is really important. So RISE has a vision for what that future could be.
Mhm.
So adopting electrical technologies more and more every single time. It's just a matter of changing scale. We're going from small electrical devices to fully electric powered vehicles, and then what are some of the last adopters to that is big heavy industry, and soon everything is going to be electric. I think once all the technology catches up at the same time, infrastructure changes. And I think looking at how we can make that electric dream come true, I think RISE is leading that charge. So I'm totally on board with their mission about that legacy that they want to leave, and I want to be a part of that.
Yeah. And I imagine that every day, you come in and it's a little bit different than the day before. You're still getting, your feet under you, so to speak, in terms of the role. But, what does your job look like every day?
Yeah, well, I am a senior mechanical engineer first and foremost. So a lot of what I'm doing right now is in the mechanical design realm. So checking over designs, making new designs, the documentation, which I actually find pretty fun, actually. Making sure all
Whoa,
of the
whoa, whoa, whoa. Documentation is something that's fun.
that's part of the job. You can't just create cool things and then not expect to clean up. Tying the the knot at both ends, I think is very important.
Yeah.
So because you don't want to just make designs, you want to make designs that are going to last and survive. So you need to tell people how it's made and what's in it. And I think that's just as important as making the thing itself.
Yeah.
So when you come out with a beautiful design and then you're able to showcase it. And it's not just about I made a cool thing, but I also made a cool thing that doesn't cost very much, uh, and that meets all these other design criteria, because that's just as important as it completing the function. Now, I not necessarily have done that here yet, but it's things that I'm working on, and it changes day to day. A variety of different projects, large scale, smaller scale, and I think that diversity of what I might do in any given day, I also find to be very attractive because I just like to get my hands in everything.
Sure, sure. Well, not that you've hit any walls, so to speak, today, but the expectation is that our team, works hard and play just as hard, afterwards. And so, we've heard from many of your of our coworkers about, what are the passions that are outside of work that, help fill that creativity cup to bring into the lab so that we can use them to solve some of these big problems. You mentioned the mission and bringing electrification to heavy machinery, and that is definitely an opportunity to leave a legacy, to solve this problem and move forward. So what does it look like for Jamison after work?
When Jamison goes home, he does more engineering. I'm sure people have much more interesting and relaxing hobbies. When I go home, I've literally just, hit the computer and design more robots. Uh, Robotics, I mentioned, is kind of like my home. That's where I started. That's my first interest that were really got me into engineering in general. Um, and a large part of that is, I never really stopped doing that same stuff. So like I'll just be more direct. The thing that got me into engineering from the get go is an old TV show called BattleBots, and
It's not
um,
that old. I remember when that started. It's not.
yeah, it's been around. There's a whole neat history about it.
Yeah.
That's what got me into engineering from the
Yeah.
very beginning. And once I started learning the know-how and being able to build those machines, I never put it down. So I've been actively competing for over 19 years now, uh,
Wow.
various stages of robots and different methods. It's a sport that grows with you, and I think it's really rewarding to be able to learn new skills, whether it's in school or it's at the workplace. Um, being able to apply what you learned in your own time and apply what you learned at work on your own time. So it's sort of like this cyclic learning experience. It iterates on itself. And so when I go home, things I learned at work, oh, I want to apply those as soon as possible. Maybe it's a new technique for actually managing how I catalog builds. I write a little blog for myself as well. And some aspects of that, I'd say more recently, the work that I was doing in additive manufacturing regarding product design has been really good for organizing my team and organizing my machines. When we go to compete on the TV show, because BattleBots was rebooted, and I had the grand privilege of competing on the show as well, which has just made my 12-year-old self very, very happy.
Right.
Being able to, the large sums of money that come through for that and the time scale of things, it's basically a small company. Yeah. And we're organizing the builds, getting those lead times, those schedules, documentation for the parts. We need to make something really fast at the event through local vendors. We have the ability to go basically walk those designs over. And all those has just been incredibly important. Those are things I've learned throughout my time at work and have brought those learnings to my own personal life.
Sure. So tell me how, in 19 years, it means you've been pretty successful in it as well. And, it's getting to the show is a feat in and of itself. Doing well in the show is even more exciting. How do you go about raising money for that? And what is, it must become somewhat of a full-time job, especially as you're getting close to competing.
Yeah, certainly. Similar to how my approach looking at RISE for the first time, you kind of have to get your potential sponsors, supporters, get them on that vision as well. What exactly is BattleBots going to do for your company? What is BattleBots going to do for the world? Some of the largest viewers, some of the large population of viewers is actually kids, like who I was when I first saw it. Kids love the show. They gravitate towards the variety of different machines. It seems like a simple task, but underneath it all is a large number of life lessons and learnings for the STEM field. So say people get interested in engineering through watching BattleBots, and they also learn things about teamwork and how to be a gracious winner, how to be a gracious loser as well. It's all valuable skills, and I can't say enough about the sport of fighting robots.
What does your team look like? How many folks help you out?
Yeah, so my team, our home base is, in Massachusetts. It's kind of wherever I am and my main crew. But we are actually a team of maybe 9 or 10 people spread out across the U.S. We got 4 different time zones: California, Texas, Utah, and Virginia. We're all over the place. And it's about that, that community, those people that you meet. I think more valuable than anything else are the people skills for my team members. Yes. So when you meet people that you really enjoy working with, you remember those names. And I never close doors. I say, you guys are welcome. As long as you want to stay involved, you're welcome to stay involved. We'd love to have you. And so we find ways to make it work. The event happens. When we usually do the filming is a 2-week time period, and currently in Las Vegas. And so everyone, you might imagine, needs to coalesce on that location. And we got to manage the flights, who's waiting at the airport for how long, try to coordinate all those, because we want to have everyone there. They're friends, they're like family. And,
yeah.
I kind of feel the same way about RISE when I came in, talking with everyone here. It really does feel like friends as well.
Yeah. Jamison, as you look at, the opportunity or the obstacles that are in front of you, both at work, and following this mission of RISE, how do you pull from, other areas of your life, whether it be BattleBots or previous experience to face those challenges and solve, these, these things with RISE to, create a better product?
I think first and foremost, some of those important skills is to believe that it can be done, ask the right questions, and kind of have this positive can-do attitude. I think that a lot of what I do for the robots that I build in my personal time, I try to push the bounds a little bit about how techniques are, how things are accomplished. And sometimes they don't always work out the first time. You have to understand and look at what happened, the failure modes, ask yourself why, try to figure out what exactly do I need to do different to be able to make it work. And then never really give up, because when sometimes the first thing that happens, if something doesn't work out, you might feel a bit demotivated, but I'm kind of energized by the question of why. And so trying to look at what happened and then ask myself, figure out why it happened, I think is actually pretty cool. So that kind of train of thought, until you're successful, of course, and that whole train of thought, is something that I can take with me to anything new that I work on at work and like at RISE, is to try to look at new areas where we're injecting our technology and try to find those solutions and have this iterative process of what and why to be able to get towards success.
Sure. I mean that goes back to your point about documentation too, right? It's so important to, itemize what you've done and tie the bow on each side of the problem, so to speak, so that you're not beating your head against the wall, so making the same mistakes. But with that, what are you most looking forward to? What's next for Jamison? Maybe I definitely want to hear more about the BattleBots, but also here at RISE.
Well, I'm happy to talk about BattleBots at length. Don't get me started, otherwise I will just go on forever. What's going to happen? What's the next step for me at RISE? Well, I'm hoping to work on some pretty cool new tech in the future, in the coming years. I want to be a part of it, and I want to just see this company succeed. I like to see RISE technology out in the wild on pieces of equipment. I think that would be the most gratifying thing, is to say and point at something that exists in the world, in the hands of many people, and say, I helped make that. Yeah. That's what I really want.
I think that's what we all want, is to be able to say, hey, we had a hand in that. I think you're right. It's pretty neat. Well, yeah, thank you very much for joining me today, Jamison. I think you come with some interesting perspective. Anytime you do want to talk more about bots, we can make it our own series here on the Rise Inside podcast. It'd be great.
I'll take you up on that. Thank you so much.
Well, that or any other topics too. Always looking for ideas to help tell the story of RISE and what makes it so special to be here. Sometimes it's tough to explain to others that are outside of the the orange tent, but it's been pretty neat to get to know everybody here.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. On behalf of my guest today, Jamison Go, Senior Mechanical Engineer for RISE Robotics, you've been listening to the latest episode of Rise Inside. Till next time.
You have been listening to the RISE Inside podcast, presented by RISE Robotics. On behalf of our guest today and host Justin Starbird, thank you for listening. Please share your feedback on our LinkedIn page